In remote northern India, wedged between war-torn Kashmir and Chinese-occupied Tibet, is the arid Himalayan landscape called Ladakh. It is home to a gentle, peaceful people who practice what is essentially Tibetan culture. Due to Communist China's destruction of the Tibetan way of life beginning in 1949, Ladakhis are perhaps more Tibetan than the Tibetans themselves. Many Tibetan refugees have found a home here, while cities in Tibet are modernized and the Buddhist way of life is suppressed. Ladakhis and Tibetan refugees represent the last remnants of a 2,500-year-old tradition surviving elsewhere only just south of these mountains in Dharamsala, a Tibet in exile still overseen by the Dalai Lama.
We have very cultural affinity, social affinity with Tibet for last many years. Cultural as well as religious for the Buddhist, and impact of Tibet in our food habits, in our architecture, in our music, and mode of living, and many things. Yeah, language. So, unfortunately, now after this, when communist China occupied Tibet, since then now all these relations have been now severed, now cut off. And Ladakhis have been now trying to renew these relations through Government of India. Ladakhis have been approaching Government of India to get restored trade relations, cultural relations, but since then there has not been any advancement, no progress in this regard.
Because of fascination among Westerners with this increasingly novel culture, Ladakh draws hordes of tourists every summer, the only season when the mountain roads are passable. Most travelers come via Delhi, a much different India, and the one that is most often projected to the Western Hemisphere. For travelers, Ladakh is a welcome change to the dirty and busy streets of the Indian capital. Ladakh, which varies in elevation from 10 to 18,000 feet above sea level, is most commonly reached by way of a grueling 2-day jeep ride over bumpy and dangerous roads where deadly accidents often occur. Because of a long-standing violent conflict between rival India and Pakistan, the road was opened only in 1974, and tourists did not come in large numbers until the late 1980s. The jeeps traverse 4 major passes, the highest of which is Tanglang La, at a suffocating 17,500 feet, and what some argue is the second highest motorable road in the world. Despite this, Leh, Ladakh's capital, receives increasing numbers of tourists every year, peaking in 2005 with 37,000 visiting during the 3-month season. That's about 7,000 more than the town's permanent population. So what brings these travelers over such a long, hard distance?
They come here to see the nature, I think. Plus the Buddhist monasteries, the high altitude lakes, the river rafting, the mountaineering, what we do not have here in Ladakh. Ladakh is a very beautiful place. Once you see Ladakh, then I'm sure you will come again and again. We have trekking routes, very beautiful trekking route up in the mountains. You have trekking routes from here to Manali for a period of 20 days altogether. You start the trek and you get lost into the mountains for days together, for weeks together.
People come India because they want to shanty, they want to relax in home, they get with everything, tired with the work, with the job, because the life is so fast and crazy in Europe.
The people came here especially for the adventure and for the relax also, for the mind peace, because of his high altitude and oxygen is so less. If you are coming, it's a great pleasure if you came here for like fighting with your whole life, This is the main spirit of life.
Well, I feel like, to me, from my past experiences dealing with a lot of foreigners, I see that there's a lot of noise and tensions and a lot of competitions in society in the West, and moreover, a lot of materialistic sort of society, and moreover, the cities are like concrete jungles where, as the buildings are, so the human minds are so tensed and so concrete sort of. So I feel like people really feel suffocated in such cities and so frustrated at times. And to me, other reasons are, of course, every country has their own beauty and everything, but still, many of the people who live in societies, they are away from the real nature. The true nature is away. All these artificial things that we have created. I think that's one reason why people are coming to this part of the world where there's so much of spiritual things and meditation and yoga and things like that. So
I was working in the corporate world for about 6 years or so and finding it really unfulfilling. So I decided to take a couple years off and do some traveling.
We came because we haven't got long in India and it's the monsoon and we wanted to avoid rain in the south.
Like an easygoing, like gentle place to hang out, and if you're into it, obviously learn tons about Tibetan Buddhism.
The influx has brought rapid change to the area, throwing it open to Western culture, a far cry from Ladakh's previous experience with the outside world, that of traders on Central Asia's famous Silk Route. This massive and swift change has caused most in the younger generation of Ladakhis to abandon traditional dress and culture in favor of Western fashions and a money economy. Whereas Ladakh was once a primarily agrarian economy, many have now turned to the short tourist season to make their living for the rest of the year. Western demand for Tibetan and Ladakhi artifacts has created a sort of culture for sale in Leh. Tourism companies have also sprung up in large numbers, offering to arrange pack ponies for trekking, tents and other camping equipment, mountaineering gear, and logistic advice. Rather than working on farms, young men in town compete for tourist business. This has drastically changed community relations in Leh.
We used to help each other much more than now. But now the situation has changed, For example, in olden times, if somebody built a house, all the neighbors went to help him, help the family. But now, even if I want, I can't do it because I have no time, So for me, it's much more practical if I employ some people.
Lots of money is coming in, and lots of people from other parts are also coming in looking for job here. Of course, it's market economy which is taking over the traditional subsistence agriculture that we had, economy that we had for centuries, suddenly being replaced by the market economy. The other problems that accompanies with it also comes is you see here. And in case of Ladakh, I would say it's been the change has been more drastic than in other parts of India, because it's a short season, 3 months tourist season here, and in that 3 months you see suddenly Ladakh, you see a different Ladakh. Lots of tourists, lots of activities are going on, and it lasts for only 3 months, and that coping period is also short for the local people, and the rest of the months Ladakh is back to its original, position.
People have become materialistic now. Many people are not content with their lot. People have not much leisure. We used to have very good leisure now those days. Now people are too busy. Otherwise, those people were economically not well off. People were poor, but the festivities were more than present here.
And so, in an effort to discover and understand a unique and ancient culture, isolated from much of the rest of the world for so long, tourists have left a permanent mark on Ladakhi society. Ironically, they have helped to very quickly globalize the society they originally sought for its authenticity.
You know, I have lived through this change that took place in this place, Ladakh. You know, as a child I lived in the traditional Ladakh, and then I have seen it move on to this present day situation. And all along I have seen all this unorganized kind of change that disrupted the, you know, society's evolution or whatever you call it, you know. Those days it was the social customs that governed society, people, and you know, sanitation, environmental things and all that. But then this change came. You see, that was very unorganized, unplanned, and you know, well, it was introduced by the government, but nobody had a clue what kind of change they really wanted. They only dismantled the past structure and couldn't replace with the new. That was the main problem. And as a result, it was chaos everywhere, you know, in the minds of the people, in the external world, you know, in the streets you could see in the form of all, you know, unorganized garbage, rubbish, everything, you know, that kind of thing. And along came all these problems of pollution and, you know, especially water pollution and all that. And for example, as a child, I remember, you know, going to school, playing with the fishes in all these waters that you see around. You know, all these waters used to have fishes in them. Streams were sacred water sources in those days, and social customs guarded them, like, you know, you cannot pee in the running water, you cannot throw garbage into it, or you cannot spit into it, or you cannot, without any purpose, you cannot jump across a running water. Officials coming from outside, they simply disrespected all these social customs, you know. They were here with a very arrogant and superior kind of complex, and they were here to civilize the mountain people. So they just simply disrespected all the social customs without having any idea of the consequences that would lead to. And they were here to introduce some kind of change, but no one actually had what kind of, you know, new structure they were going to implant here. And as a result, you know, all waters began to get polluted, and today you see, you know, all these waters are absolutely toxic.
Pollution of glacial flow, Ladakh's primary source of water for agriculture and drinking, is complicated by the fact that glaciers are dissipating with each passing year.
Still we have a little bit problems of water. Getting day by day. Year by year.
Sun yung na water no sun to water no.
We are depending on glacier water, you know. That's why it is it's very getting hot year by year. You know, the climate is changing, and we are always in the summer. We are always waiting for the sunny days, you know, so that lots of water comes. Yeah.
Glaciers are very rapidly melting now. At many places, glaciers have now shrunk. So it is said now it will be a very problem in the long run. If glaciers, suppose now all the glaciers are melted now, then how can survive Ladakhis? How can we irrigate our land? So it will be a problem. So glaciers are source of water, the major source of water for all Ladakhis now, for drinking as well as for irrigation of our fields.
And during my childhood also, I remember the Indus River, which is impassable, especially during the month of May, June, July, and August. But right now, at this time, I'm around 50 years old. Now, a small child can cross that river now. That means the glaciers have decreased.
Experts and some glaciarists, they have predicted not in Ladakh only, but even in Tibet also. After 75 years, there won't be any glacier in entire Tibet, and in Baltistan also. Yeah. Our some major rivers flowed down from Tibet, River Indus, River Brahmaputra, and in Baltistan also. So that will be a problem in the long run. Global warming is a very serious problem for Ladakhis. So it is very difficult to say what will happen for this coming generations.
Where will Ladakh get its water if it has no glaciers?
Go, then Ladakh is gone. Once our glaciers are gone.
People.
Yes.
Where will they go?
Nobody knows. That will be a big problem.
Answers are reluctant and mixed when tourists are asked how they perceive their effect on the area.
Not so positive, probably.
Everyone that come and change something, I think it's ring a little bit.
Don't know.
I don't think I have something to add after all these amounts of tourists that came to Leh for years.
One of the things I'm trying to do is, like, when I speak to people from Ladakh and they talk about how great the West is, I really try and make it clear to them that this is a great place and that your culture is a great thing. So don't completely be enamored with everything which is West, because there's a lot of problems.
As tourists, as a whole, we bring a lot of waste and a lot of ideas about development and progress and things like that. I guess personally, what we're trying to have as little impact as we can.
Me personally, I don't know. I hope positively or neutrally. I mean, I hope I'm supporting the local economy to some extent, not leaving behind a bunch of trash.
I don't think it's bad because it helps the economy here. I'm sure that the culture changes because of it, but I mean, it's like in Nepal also. I mean, there's the touristic areas. I talk to people who say, "Oh, it's a shame because it ruins the culture," but then they're happier because they have more money, and they wouldn't say we don't want tourists. It's okay, so the culture goes, but everyone's more happy.
Yeah, basically you give them money, so it's good. It's work for both of us, I'm coming to see the culture, to see how people living, to see the scenery of the mountains, and then they accommodate me and they get money.
They benefit from it.
I don't know, impact as a tourist. I really don't know. Little ourselves, but I don't know. Hard question.
It's not that I live completely different from the principles they have here, so no, it doesn't make such a great difference. And I think you also, I don't know how our behavior affects them. I don't know how they look at me or at the West, so I don't know what they take from us. I'm not really sure. I heard from the books and everything that they think that Ladakhi's culture is more behind than Western culture, but I have never spoken to anyone about that aspect, so I'm not sure of it.
Travelers share a general interest in the Buddhist culture of the area. Each year at Hemis, a short distance to the south of Leh, a large annual religious festival takes place at the town's Gompa, or monastery. The 4-hour series of dances depicting Buddhist demons and deities is attended by more Westerners than Ladakhis. Back in Leh, troops of dancers entertain the tourists with traditional Ladakhi dance and dress.
Hardly anything is left of the culture. Culture means the dress that we wear, or culture means the song we sing, or not necessarily within the society, but culture is defined in a very narrow and very superficial way today. Like culture is limited to singing, dancing, and the dress. That's it. It used to be a lived culture, a live culture in those days.
Because many fewer tourists visit Ladakh's surrounding areas and southern India is experiencing its annual monsoon during the summer, tourists drift north, away from the rain. Indians from outside Ladakh often migrate there for the summer season to sell their wares, provide basic services, and even entertain. This family from Rajasthan conducts street performances in which the small daughters shimmy across a rope with their knees in a tin pan. They immediately ask for money from any tourist passerby. Tourists in India have become a floating resource. Where they go, the workers go too. These young boys, also from Rajasthan, canvass the town offering to shine shoes in hopes of scraping out a living. The 5 brothers live in a one-room house with their parents and uncle. The boys are met with plenty of rejection. Professional beggars also head to Leh in summer. They rely on the kindness of foreigners and the Buddhist belief in karma.
There was a time like 7, 8, 10 years ago, and somehow these beggars in lowland, they came to know that there's a place called Ladakh where people are extremely sympathetic to the beggars because they are Buddhists. And then one summer, all streets of Leh were filled with these kind of beggars, and people were taking pity, and people didn't have money, but they would get some amount of money from somewhere and give to these beggars, and that increased the number of beggars into the town like anything. So that was, at a point, it became unbearable. Then people understood that we should stop giving, and then people stopped giving, but still we find some every summer.
These camels, not indigenous to Ladakh, were brought north to the scenic Nubra Valley to give tourist rides between the villages. This yogi came from South India to teach classes in yoga and Reiki.
My students are coming from different countries. Most of the students are traveling to India, want to be aware of the divine consciousness. They want to learn something which it is totally different than the West. They come here for...
He is a laughing yogi, an exercise he says brings him in closer connection with his divine consciousness.
Like a beautiful Madonna, like that.
Please, you come. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, everyone turning to the spirituality for happiness. Everyone is a desire for the happiness. And those who are having that very big company and all those things, can certainly get connected. These things are not a bother about. You don't need to give up all those things to go and sit in the cave. Only you have to give up that I am nothing. You have to only give up that your ego.
Migrant shopkeepers, mostly from Nepal and Kashmir, work in Leh for the season and spend the rest of the year in Goa, a beach resort town in southwest India.
So my name is Penji. I'm from Kathmandu. I came for just only to work and then make money because the Nepal is poor country. Now the government in Myanmar is fighting the violence. So I didn't get money there, like for me. So I have family in Kathmandu.
Destruction of Ladakh's environment is just one reason why the tourism industry might be more temporary than those who depend on it would hope. Ladakh shares a state line with Kashmir, an area with a long history of violence, connected to the struggle of Islamic fundamentalists to gain power there and create a state independent from both India and Pakistan. Although Muslims make up only 12% of the permanent population, the Kashmiris, frustrated with tourist levels in their own part of the state, take advantage of high tourist numbers in Leh. The struggle for Kashmir makes up a large part of the conflict between the two nuclear powers. Violence between India and Pakistan most recently erupted in Kargil, a military outpost between Leh and Kashmir.
It was a very long-standing demand of the Ladakhis that a regiment should be created here, Ladakh regiment. And they accepted and realized the importance of Ladakhis fighting in Ladakh only during Kargil war. So in a way it was a blessing in a disguise. Now we are well entrenched in Kargil. That was a misadventure, I think, by Pakistanis. They won't repeat that.
Being a border area, it can taking place. Many times the Indo-Pak wars in 1948, 60, 65, 71 wars, the Indo-Pak, and recently the Kargil war happened. Due to border and due to this terrorism, coming from the Pakistan side, Kashmir issue is such a situation can become at any time. All these things are not favorable for us. It can affect for the coming of tourists and these things. It is not in the interest of Ladakhi people.
Of course, they always say, Kashmir is safe, and you have seen it is not safe, and they are especially targeting tourists. So, if a lot of tourists go to Kashmir, that means the situation is normal. So, militants wants to give a message to the world that not everything is not in order. So that's why they kill tourists. I think there are many ex-militants, in Leh. Many of the shopkeepers might be ex-militants but not active at the moment. Western governments, they have travel advisors not to go to Jammu and Kashmir. And unfortunately, we are in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, so many people, they're afraid to come to Ladakh also.
The 16th century castle that looms over the town is a remnant of Buddhist rule. It is shrouded only by the Jama Masjid Mosque, with its loudspeaker blaring prayers across the town 5 times a day. Fundamentalist Muslims also come to Leh in summer to teach about Islam.
Yeah, we are also from Kashmir to make a visit and to interact with different Muslims living here and to propagate them the true essence of Islam, and to propagate livelihood, brotherhood, not between Muslims, but between other sects of people also, other sects of religion. We'll be just giving you the knowledge about Islam, not regarding politics, because we don't deal with the politics. We just make people aware what is inside the earth, that's the graveyard, what is below the sky, that is the paradise or hell, where we are going to go by our deeds. We don't take any conditions prevailing on this earth into account. We don't want to deal with that. We just want to deal with the graveyard, what sort of deeds we are going to take there, and what sorts of what the Almighty Allah will be bestowing us by our deeds. If we do the good deeds, if we follow the brotherhood, if we respect our elders, if we love our younger ones, that's good, and help poor. We don't give them food, we don't give them shelter, we just want to make them clear that all that happens on this earth is done by One Mighty, that's Allah, and just ask the Almighty Allah to provide food and shelter.
We don't believe in a creator, we don't believe in God. So I think Buddhism is, that's why even Hindus, they believe in a creator. Buddhism is the only major religion which doesn't believe in God. For example, I think most of the scientists also doesn't believe in God. So it's very, very scientific. Buddhism is very systematic, scientific, and logical.
Conflicts have arisen in town over incidents between individuals of different faiths. In February of 2006, a Buddhist girl was allegedly raped by an older Muslim man, causing the town to declare a ban, or stoppage of work.
I think there's some kind of resentment, If during summer in Leh town, we locals are in minority. So of course, and all the business is taken by outsiders. So there is resentment here.
Maybe they think themselves they are king here, They think this is their place. But this is not a matter, it is also our state. We don't want Pakistan, we don't want India, we want freedom. We want independence. We want independence. We don't, India, Pakistan fight, what we get? We die. Nothing.
It's an unfortunate situation that there is a tension between the Buddhists and the Muslims, which is nothing to hide about. But all over India, situation is like that between different communities. Some days something sparks off some kind of riot or some kind of hatred, and that continues for some time, and then everything dies down and everything is normal for some time. So this is a hide and seek game that continues.
If the tourist industry here should crash because of environmental or political problems, some claim Ladakhis could go back to their old way of life. But others claim it's too late now to turn back, and Ladakh must cope with the change that modern society has brought.
When we go to the villages, previously they used to talk about roads, schools, medical facilities, things like that. Now they want telephone, they want television, they want electricity. These three things they demand.
Because there is a lot of burden on the women, because all the men we are joined in the military. To preserve the culture and traditions are totally depends on the women.
In every villages, every people, so there are 100% of people are farmers. They are growing their own land. They are growing their own food. They are making their all the clothing themselves. In every house there is a small industry. They are weaving and knitting their wool and whatever materials they have. They do their own clothing, just right from top to bottom. Everything. But everything is now the road is open, and many tourists are coming up from the outside. There is no problem for the money, then we are forgetting our the old culture, like the agriculture and this animal husbandry, everything, But it is sometimes we feel very danger that the tourists can be stopped at any time. I think it is not a sustainable development for the people of Ladakh. If due to some war or due to some unfavorable situations in the war, if tourists stop immediately in the Ladakh, coming to Ladakh, then from the other side we have already forget all the culture of the agriculture, this tradition, Then people will be in very awkward position.
We do not have any, any system for a trash dispose as such. What we have is only, you would see as few dustbin in and around Leh. There you mix all garbage, all kind of, whether it's degradable, whether it's material. So you mix everything together and then do it. And finally what they do, they collect it from here, then throw it some, one place. It look very ugly. So one few valleys are all full of now garbage. In the villages, this is still not really a big problem. But if tourism increase at the same rate, there's going to be problem in every village and every corner of Ladakh. At present, this is the problem of Leh.
Now actually we are thinking about to decentralize the tourism from here. Now the bearing capacity of Leh is almost full. Now we are trying to decentralize it to the areas like Nubra, like Changphang, which is very vast, where you can put hundreds of hotels together, which can vanish in the nature.
Despite problems, many Ladakhi leaders claim the quick transition from a tribal to consumer society has done more good than harm.
We as an individual would always go for something which is comfortable for you, which is more convenient for you. Yeah, if something of a group problems, like say pollution, it is ultimately everybody's problem. So it's become like nobody's problem. So that's where the government and the bigger organization need to come up with the rules and regulation to check it. So otherwise, I feel that Ladakh tourism has brought many good things to Ladakh and made Ladakh a better place.
It has changed much in the last 15 years. Even after it was open for tourists, the change was not very dramatic. But in the last 15 years came television, telephones and things like that, very quickly. So it was a very, very sudden change. And 15 years ago, very few people had cars. 30 years ago, I went to Europe. When I came back, I told people there everybody has a car. It was a big news. After 30 years in Leh, almost everybody has a car.
If you ask me as to Ladakh before tourists coming, is it better or Ladakh now is better? I guess Ladakh now is better. Yeah, we just have to check few bad side of the tourism thing. But otherwise, yeah, Ladakh is better now in the sense that we said 30 years back when Ladakh was not introduced to tourism, then we were living under a very subsistence economy, not just sustainable but subsistence. So limited food, limited cloth purpose, and then everything was very limited and scarce. So we had no choice but to live with it.
Everything was not good in old Ladakh. If you ask a very old man of 80 years and ask him, you would like to live in the present Ladakh or in the old Ladakh? I think 95% of these old people, they say they would like to live in this Ladakh. We had not enough to eat, and the society was also not just. Some people, they exploited the majority. One thing which tourism did very good to Ladakh was tourists, they appreciated the culture of Ladakh. And Since 1974, there was kind of a cultural revival in Ladakh in all spheres. Our architecture, we were losing. Now you see all the hotels and all the houses, they have a Ladakhi look. And also people start to appreciate other values like language, dresses and things, you know. It came back.
Generally we tend to fantasize the past very much, you know. Past was good, past was this, you know, past people had peace. I guess it's some sort of fantasizing the past always. You still have so many places which is same like past. Even in Ladakh, if you remote places like Zangskar, Changtang area, the past is so good that why isn't that, you know, people who have seen both past and now the, you know, present, and who are critical about the present, go back to the Changtang and other places and live there. You know, but they don't do it, they just talk here.
The old Ladakhi society was here, and then, you know, the change was introduced, and change was introduced by people from outside of Ladakh. They were not locals, most of them, I would say, at least. And they had this very arrogant attitude that really made people here depressed. Like, you know, we were the mountain peoples, the uncivilized people who hardly ever washed all through the life. That depressed attitude made Ladakhis to impose all sorts of change onto themselves. You know, they should not look or be called Ladakhis. And that was rescued by tourism, what I say is, you know. Tourism came and then, you know, appreciated the culture, appreciated people, you know, all these things happened. Then people regained their self-confidence and, you know, began to think like, wow, goodness, this is like, you know, something, even we are also humans, like, you know, we are kind of fine, nothing wrong with us. A lot of the old cultures elements are still, you know, still there, like, but how long is a different thing. Like, if the society continues going in the same direction, and in 10 years' time, you wouldn't find any difference between this society and that society surrounding Ladakh. But it's on the way towards that, I would say that. In every respect, it has changed today. Like, people are very self-centered, do you say? Very competitive, wanting for themselves, like individualistic extremely. Today, in those days, it used to be like the whole village community that will move together, you know. The season comes, everybody comes out with the plow. Season comes, everybody comes out with the sickle. So it used to be, and more or less everybody possessed the same things in the house. And children played in almost all the households of the village, like their own houses. You don't see that today, you know. It's more competitive, and everybody is into this race of owning more and more gaudy and cheap, flashy things from the market, you know. The neighborhood has this, I should have it, you know. My neighborhood earns this much, I should earn it. And then all this corruption comes into, because everybody is competing to earn more and competing to earn more, own more. So you don't see what kind of means you engage to earn those things. So people get corrupt and all that. The global civilization moves on towards more maturity, you know, further maturity. So cultures, people, better understanding, more harmonious and peaceful ways bound to happen, you know, as we move on and on. Yeah, things get better and better. I can feel it here, like, you know, I've been sitting in this shop for like 10 years or something now, almost, and I can every year feel the change, you know, for talking to people, you know, interacting with the people, I can really feel the change. Yeah, it's moving on. And very often people get depressed and nothing is happening, you know, the worst time we are going through now and things like that. I don't believe in that. Yeah, it's improving, definitely. It has to improve. I mean, there's no way out.